melt the ice behind my stone cold eyes. I turn to ashes, but only.
Hello everybody, how are you all doing today? I hope you're well. If you are like me and you have a plant collection or a plant hobby, chances are you have one or two plants around your house that are not looking their best, that are maybe struggling, neglected, etc. Well, today I'm going to share my 3 plants that are just really not doing well for me, and we're going to try and give them a little bit of a rehab, give them a little bit of extra attention, try and bring them back into a state where I can be like proud of them, or at least not dreadfully annoyed by them. So before we jump into the work that we have to do today, I'll just briefly introduce and talk about all 3 of the plants, and then we'll get into it. To start with, I have this world's saddest Albuca Frizzle Sizzle. I'll see if I can possibly try and find a photo of this when it was looking good. If not, I'll just put one from the internet. But the problem that it's having is it got underwatered during a heat wave last summer, or actually really honestly it was last fall, and it never really bounced back from that. Today we're going to unpot it and check out what its bulb or codex looks like. And even though this is like a huge container, I'm going to plant it down into here. Hopefully that will be kind of cute, and maybe it will encourage it to grow a little bit more for me once I inspect it and figure out what kind of care it really wants from me. Next is my Monstera Peru, and these are some cuttings that I bought online separately. You know, first this one, and it was so sad and pathetic, so I got this one, which is a little better. It's starting to grow, but it looks like it's just growing runners. Either way, I want to look at their root systems and repot them into this old candle jar. I think that the texture of the jar, the texture of the leaves, it's going to look good. And my goal is that hopefully once I get a chance to see what's wrong with the roots, maybe putting it in this new system will help it rehab. And lastly, we have this Tradescantia like bubblegum or lilac. I've had this plant a long time and I've neglected it a long time. Pretty much as soon as it lost its pink coloring, I didn't take good care of it as much as I should have, which I know is not his fault. Like, I put him in a lower light situation, but all in all, it suffers because I don't water it as much as I should. It has a fine root system, which means it likes to be kind of like basically constantly moist. So it's always dried out, it's always crispy, but it is a nice plant, and like I feel like it's time for me to give it like the care and the respect that it deserves. Either that or like just get rid of it, but I'm not ready to get rid of it. So what I'm going to do is plant it into this jar. It's like, you know, it's a pretty large jar, so I feel like it's going to be repotted today and then pretty much never again. And we'll see how that turns out, and I think that might help me keep it more evenly moist and just a little happier in general. So I guess without further ado, we should just start making our mess. Before we get really started, I'm actually going to crack open this coffee drink that I brought back from a recent trip I took to Copenhagen, Denmark. I'm really excited to try it. I don't know when it expires, so I better get to it. But the label is super cute. It's like mocha latte flavored, and it's 3 out of 5 strike index strong. So I'm gonna shake it up and give it a taste. Maybe this will give me a little bit more energy while I work. It says shake. It's good. It tastes like a can of coffee. All right, already off to a messy start, but I'm a little boosted already, just a little bit happier to be on the job. So boost.
I know some days with you it's paradise, but now you spin me in a web with all your lies. Want you to feel the way I feel inside.
I'm really glad I had my like my old COVID mask for that. I wish I had had one for my eyes though. I finished mixing up those ingredients with some coconut pork, and now we're gonna unpot this plant and put it in. These roots are 100% entirely compacted, and they're also super duper dry. I'm not really going to try too hard to like do anything to them. I'm just gonna put them in. Okay, now we can see that there's a lot of empty space. I'm going to use a spoon to try and get the soil in and kind of just basically stab it all around. Okay, we are done with this one. That was literally the biggest nightmare. It reminds me why I haven't touched this plant in a year, and I pretty much don't have any idea why this thing isn't in the garbage can right now. But either way, we are gonna move on to the other two repottings, which I know are gonna be a lot less aggravating. So I'm just glad that this is done. And if it lives, it lives. If it dies, it dies. That's how much I care at this point. Okay, next. Let's start with Frizzle Sizzle. Not very frizzly, not very sizzly right now. I'm gonna use this spoon to try and get it out of the little tiny pot. There's a lot of resistance, so that's kind of a good sign that there are a lot of roots in there. Oh, it has so many roots. I did not expect that. I want to see the caudex, or the bulb that it grows out of. Okay, so I can see that it's not a very perfectly bulbous shape. And feeling it, it's a little soft. Also, as I was taking the soil away, I peeled off a few layers of skin from it, so I can tell it has been, like its flesh has been dying and drying out. At one point, all of the leaves were off, and it was just down to the soil level. But they grew back. The roots are really dry. So it's kind of giving me mixed signals. It's saying like I'm overwatered and I'm also underwatered. That's ridiculous. I'm gonna find a different vessel. Let's see what we can do. All right, and I think that will do soil on top. All right, I don't know if this is the recommended style for Albuca to live, but I'm gonna try having its bulb exposed out of this soil, because I noticed the bulb seems like it got too wet, but then the roots seem like they got too dry. So I'm gonna try keeping the roots more wet and the bulb more dry, and we'll see if this bounces back. All right, next we have this issue to solve. The world's saddest Monstera Peru. Absolutely rotted to trash. Okay, let's see. This we might be able to root in water. Maybe. Like this node might be able to root in water. This is, there was a node here, but this is all gross. I'll just put it in, see what happens. And these nodes might be able to root in sphagnum, but this leaf is trash. And this. I guess I can still have a use for this little saucer that I was so into. I'm gonna get some something to cover this. I found this like old piece of plastic in the arts and crafts area, and it's not a perfect fit, but it's what I have for now. So this will be this. Let's hope that it roots. I can see some activated like nodes. Trying to live. These plants today, man, they're trying. All right, this one we're gonna root in water. See what happens. This was garbage. These roots are rotten. Maybe we'll also put this in water. I'm gonna clean it off with some peroxide first. All right, you guys, that is it for today. Before I sign off, we'll just do like a little summary because I noticed as I was going back and forth through all of this, the camera kept cutting out. And so I'll just talk a little bit about what we did. And if you have any advice or suggestions, tips, or even if you just want to like commiserate about your own struggles with your own plants, let's talk about it in the comments. And then we'll just, that'll be it for today. So while I was repotting this Peru, the roots were in good health. They weren't like bright white. They were kind of like, they were dark because they've been in the soil, but there was no like dry rot or wet rot to be seen in the roots. Everything looked really good. I deliberated a little bit about whether I was going to stake it up or let it hang, but as it is now, I just have them planted kind of crisscross in opposite directions of one another. And I think I will work on more of a bushy Peru for this. I also missed out on showing you guys the way I toothbrushed these stems and checked them to make sure that they weren't actually soft. There's a little bit of darkness, but I think it's just oxidization. I don't think it's like mush or rot, or it's firm. So we're gonna see if these will root. This will be the third time for me to try to root this particular specimen of the Monstera Peru. I think it's just kind of coming from a sickly, not very vigorous specimen. So it's gonna be a challenge. I think I did capture putting this node into the moss. It has some like growth points that look like they want to activate. So I put them in. I found this lid thing. So we'll see what happens. I'm not very optimistic. We've got the Frizzle Sizzle. I gave it a haircut so that it wouldn't have to like work so hard to hold its little hair up. And as I mentioned before, I'm trying to keep the roots more dry, the roots more wet, and the bulb more dry. So I have it sticking up like this. And, you know, I will check back in with an update to see how it grows. This guy over here, honestly, already looking better and feeling better. It's starting to absorb some of the water. She's in her own world doing her own thing. So thank you guys all so much for joining me today, and I hope that you're well. I hope your plants are doing well, and I'll see you in the next one.